Welcome to the channel, it's 9th edition 40k. Today on the channel we return to the war-embattled planet of Chancyll IV and the ongoing campaign in this channel between the Orcs and the Thousand Sons. There have been a number of other battle reports. I think this is the 5th battle report, but I will certainly put all the links in the chat. So if you haven't seen the earlier battles and want to know how the story unfolds, then please, by all means, watch those battle reports before watching this one. Assuming that you have seen the other battle reports, then this continues the story. The last time we was on Chancyll IV, the Orcs were launching a major incursion into the capital city of Chancyll IV, but were just about kept at bay, primarily by the Thousand Sons demonic allies that were able to constantly spawn into the battlefield to prevent the Orcs from overrunning the defences. The Thousand Sons have now gone on the counter-offensive, having secured their capital and the populous centres of the planet. They have then struck out towards the locations where the Orc Roks impacted on the planet in order to drive them from the planet of Chancyll IV once and for all. So this is going to be an open war game of 40k. It is slightly over 3,000 points aside. The objective for this mission is incisive attack. There are basically 3 objectives on the table, and at the beginning of each battle round you roll a d3, and whatever you roll is worth 2 victory points at the end of that battle round, with the other 2 being a single objective point, and it's whoever scores the most objective wins the game. The twist is champion. Select one character from your army with a wounds characteristic of 9 or less. It can't be Magnus Red, and increase that model's strength and toughness by 1 and his attacks and wounds characteristics by 2. So there's going to be 2 pimped up character models in it and in these armies, and that'd be interesting to see how that plays out. So the objectives are the first objective is in this gateway section in the Orc defences, the second at that gateway, and then the third in the backfield here. So it's broadly diagonally across the table. The Orcs, of course, will be deploying in this sort of deployment zone. It's a sort of diagonal one, and then the Thousand Sons will be coming in from this direction. Should the Thousand Sons win, they will effectively drive the Orcs from the planet. Of course, they won't be completely driven from the planet. There'll still be pockets of resistance, but from if there's a victory here from the Thousand Sons, then that will in effect end any chances of the Orcs overrunning this planet. If the Orcs win, then this entire campaign starts to feel like it'd be a bit bogged down as a war of attrition, and there are likely to be another game to see if we can continue to determine who will ultimately triumph. Okay, let's have a look at these armies. And here we have the Orc Army. It's 3,166 points or thereabouts. It's pretty much all the Orcs I have, apart from a few miniatures. And it's going to be made up of 3 detachments. The first detachment will be a battalion, and that will be pretty much what you can see in the screen now. And they will be running the Goth clan trait. Their clan trait is no mucking about, which basically means if you roll a 6 in melee, it counts as 1 extra hit, and they get +1 strength if they charge or heroically intervene. The army is led by the war boss. The warlord is the war boss here. He is armed with a combi rocket and a power claw and an attack squig, and his warlord trait is brutal but cunning, which basically means that any of his attacks which don't reach the inflict damage phase, you can re-roll at the end of those attacks. He also has the Killer Claw, which is a non-unwieldy, more powerful power claw. So he's very tasty in combat. I think only Magnus of Red would be able to withstand a round of combat against him, I think. Other HQ slot is the Big Mick with custom force field, and he's joined with his Grot Oiler. And then we've got in the third slot in the HQ section the Weir Boy, and his powers are the Jump, Warpath, and Smite. The War Boss's Bodyguard are some Mega Knobs in Mega Armor. Now I've upgraded this into a Specialist mob and made them into Big Crumpers, which basically means they get +1 to hit in melee. So that will counteract their -1 to hit with their unwieldy power claws and power saws. Otherwise they are WYSIWYGs, so 3 combi rockets in there. Also in the elite slot are 7 knobs. They're again WYSIWYGs, so 3 power claws, 2 big choppers, and 2 slugger choppers. Then I've got 3 mobs of boys. Got a small mob of 12 boys that will be going into this truck. Knob there with a power claw, and another mob of slugger chopper boys here, again with a knob in with a power claw. And then I've got a mob, I think there's 22 in this one. I think there's 21 in that squad, 12 in that mob, 22 in this one. These are the shooter boys, and you can swap a shooter with a rocket for every 10 boys you have. So there are 2 rockets in that mob. Knob, however, only having a slugger chopper. And then again, finally, 10 grots in the troop slots. They're heavy support. I've got a Death Dread with 4 power claws and a Bone Breaker. A Bone Breaker with a kill cannon and all of the heavy shooters in there. I think there's 4 heavy shooters, big shooters. And then finally, I've got a Megatrack Scrapjet. And that makes up that battalion. So they are Goths. Everyone gets a Goth clan trait apart from the Grots. And then I have to spend 2 command points for this patrol detachment here. The reason for that is you cannot have a war boss and a Deathkiller War Trike in the same detachment because they don't get on. The 2 orcs will just simply fight. So separate patrol detachment. I'll spend a command point on a big boss, which gives the warlord trait to the Deathkiller War Trike. So his warlord trait will be the best armor teeth can buy, which gives him +1 save and a 4-up invulnerable save. That's a Bad Moon specific warlord trait, and the patrol detachment will be taking the Bad Moon clan trait. Bad Moon clan trait is armed to the teeth, adds 6 inches to all the ranges of all the dagger and heavy weapons, and any natural 6 is an extra -1 to the armor save. And then finally the third detachment, which is a super heavy auxiliary detachment, and that cost me 3 command points. So the orcs are 6 command points down already, but they have started with 18, so they're now down to 12. And there's a custom job on this Stomper, which is more dagger. Basically a roll of D6 at the start of its shooting phase, and on a 4-up, every single one of its dagger weapons fires 1 extra time. That's only really the big shooters on it, but even so, there's quite a lot of big shooters on it. So on a 4-up, it is firing out more weapons, and it's taking the Bad Moon clan trait. I did double check. The Stompers never used to be able to have the clan traits, but as far as I can tell, they can now, according to the new rules. It's only the Grots that don't get clan traits. So the arms to the teeth clan rule does apply to the Stomper as well as to this patrol detachment. I never went through the patrol detachment, do I? So after the Deathkiller War Trike, we've got single mob of Gretchen down there just to fill up the mandatory troop slot. Then we've got 12 looters. Well, I say 12 looters. Actually, yes, 12 looters and 3 spanners. Games Workshop have changed the rules of looters. For every 4 looters, you've got to take a spanner. I only ever painted up 1 spanner, and I used the rest of my spanners and into my boys and converted them into boys. So these two models here with the big shooters are also spanners, but the spanner at the front is armed with a custom blaster. Other than that, the looters have got Daka guns. And then I've got 6 knobs on war bikes, the boss knob with a power claw, and then finally the shock jump dragster, which has got, you know, pretty good anti-tank rifle on it, shock rifle. So that's the Orks. So yeah, so these lot are going to be getting punchy because they're goths. This lot, even though they're going to get shooty because they're bad moon, and so is that. So that's basically it. I'm trying to utilize the best attributes for each clan for the two types of the army. So let's go and have a look at the Thousand Sons. And here we have the Zinchi Army. It is slightly more points than the Orc one. It's about 3,200 thereabouts, although because this is an open war game, I'm not being too precious about the points. It's made up of 3 detachments, a Supreme Command detachment, which of course has Magnus the Red in it, and he has to be the Warlord, and I get 3 extra command points as a bonus for that happening. As he is the Warlord, he takes 3 Warlord traits: Arrogance of Eons, basically re-roll, deny the witch tests, Undying Form, -1 damage to any weapons coming into him, and Lord of the Forbidden Law, which basically means he knows every single psychic power that the Thousand Sons know, apart from the cult specific psychic powers. He also has a 6-inch reroll 1 aura, and you can also point to a Thousand Sons unit, and until the next command phase, that's within 6 inches of him, and until the next command phase they can reroll all hits. So he's very powerful, of course. His smites are extra powerful. He's got a weapon that's flat 3 damage. I think it's -4. He does D3 damage to any target he doesn't kill at the end of the fight phase. So yeah, he's a proper beat stick. Also in the Supreme Command detachment is Araman. Again, very powerful psyker. He can reroll all psychic tests. And the Thousand Sons Legion trait, I should say, is +1 to cast across the board. So they are very psychically powerful. And they also gain Cabal points, which I'll explain probably as the game progresses. Okay, second detachment, which costs 3 command points, but I've got 3 extra anyway, is the Battalion of Thousand Sons, led by the Exalted Sorcerer on a Disc of Zinch. I've spent 2 command points on him, 1 on Sorceress Arcana to give him an extra relic, and 1 on High Acolytes to give him a Warlord trait. So his Warlord trait will be Ardent Scholar, which is the Cult of Knowledge specific trait, which allows him to reroll 1s in the psychic phase for psychic tests, and his relic is the Anathean Scrolls, which allows him to cast a particular spell on 3d6 and choose the best 2 results from those 3 dice. In case you haven't noticed or worked that out, everyone's going to be Cult of Knowledge in this army. Other HQ slots, I've got a normal sorcerer on foot, and I've got this model will have to be my Infernal Master. Unfortunately, I don't have the correct Citadel miniature yet. So I can't buy them can't buy them separately yet, and I'll never get round to getting that box set that they released. So yeah, I won't talk about each and every single one of their psychic powers, because I really will be here for a long time. This is a very psychically powerful army, but I'll explain as the game progresses. So they're the 3 HQ slots. In the elite slots, I've got 5 Scarab Occult Terminators with a Hellfire Missile Rack and a Heavy Warp Flamer. I have upgraded these lots to be to have the Rites of Coalescence. I definitely didn't have to look that up, which basically means that they recover all their wounds at the end of the turn if they aren't killed outright. So you can't chip away at them, you have to kill them outright basically, otherwise they're going to keep coming back. In the elite slot, I've got I've got a Hell Brute behind Magnus there with a Hell Brute Fist and a multi-melter. And in the troop slots, I've got 2 units of 10 Rubric Marines, each with a Soul Reaper cannon. And I've also got a squad of 20 Zangor warriors there with the instrument, which adds 1 to their advance and charge rolls, and the banner, which adds 1 to their leadership. Also in the Zangors here, I've got a Zangor Shaman, which adds +1 to hit, a aura around it, and the Zangor Enlightened. They're not quite as good as they used to be, but they can snipe characters, and they are still got fairly powerful Strength 5 great bows. So some of the weaker Orc characters could possibly be sniped off by this unit. Let's see what we've got here. We've got a Defiler with a Defiler cannon, a battle cannon, auto cannons, and heavy flamer, twin heavy flamer. Got a Land Raider with a standard loadout of 2 twin link las cannons and a twin link heavy bolter. Helldrake for just rapid attack, just to get into the enemy's grill and to be a problem. And then I think last but no means least, some cultists, usually to hold objectives or just to avoid deep strikers or anything like that. I've spent 2 command points on a patrol detachment from the Demon book. This is a Zinchi Demon patrol led by a Demon Prince with wings, and he will have the Locus of Change, which is basically a sort of defensive thing. That means it's harder to hit in close combat. And he has brought with him a unit of 9 pink horrors without the chaos icon on there, so they won't start coming back. I haven't had the points to pay for any blue or brimstone horrors to come into being if they are destroyed, so they're basically as they are. And again, screamers and flamers. Oh, I didn't mention there's a couple of spawn there as well. I think that's everything. As I said, yeah, I won't explain the psychic powers now, because otherwise this will go on forever. I'll explain it as and when they materialize in the game. So let's go to deployment. And the armies have deployed. The Thousand Suns player has spent a command point on Risen Rubikai, and putting him down to 13. Basically allows a squad of rubrics to deploy with outside of the deployment zone, not within 9 inches of the enemy. The Thousand Suns have known that one day in the future the Orcs will build this this city as they landed on this planet as a defensive position, and so they have seeded suits of Rubikai armor under the sand, and they've sprung up and blown the gates, and causing the iron to warp and dissipate with their magics. They have also unleashed a hail of warp bolters along the ramparts up here, clearing the enemy of Orcs that happen to be on that part of the rampart. The twist in this game allows each player to select a character model with wounds characteristic on 9 or less from their army to be their army's champion, and that increases the model's strength and toughness characteristics by 1 and its attacks and wounds by 2. Obviously I can't do that on Magnus, he's got too many wounds, so I'm going to select the army champion to be, for the Thousand Suns, the Demon Prince. I imagine a corona of warp magics is leapt from each sorcerer along the battle lines and imbued the Demon Prince with extra powers. I said corona, that's not a very nice word. Let's use a nimbus instead. And from the Orc side, the Weird Boy Gitzog Flame Spitter from the pulpit of his Weird Boy Tower has been whipping the prophets of Gorkamork into a religious frenzy, building the Warg energy through them, and also pouring that energy into the war boss Skarzot Face Crumper And so for the Orcs perspective, he will be the army champion, and he will also gain those stats increases. And just as the rubrics below the gate, the Weir Boy casts the jump on himself and the war boss, and the war boss is teleported down amongst the boys, and the Weir Boy also lands amongst the troops. So let's have a look at the deployment then. I might as well start with the Orcs as I'm over here. So the 12 slugger shooter boys are in this truck. There's a small mob of Gretchen. The shooter boys with the 2 rocket launchers are manning this barricade. On this fortification are the looters. We're going to treat this as +1 to their armor save, although it may not help them particularly given the -2 to most of the Thousand Suns weapons. Oops, I just knocked over some scenery. On the other side of the barricade, we've got the Death Dread, the Megatrap Scrapjet, the Death Killer War Trike, and I don't know if you can see him, just tucked under there is the big mech with his custom force. So that will be hitting and protecting the 2 units on the ramparts, at least giving them 5 up. Sorry, 6 up invulnerable save. It used to be 5 up to now 6 up. Knobs at the back here. The Thousand Suns does have his Terminators in reserve, so some consideration to deep strike denial being here, and because he has the jump, the idea is that Weir Boy will catapult the knobs initially, and then maybe even the boys into combat, because there's going to be a bit of a logjam as everyone comes pouring out of the gates. Another, well, you know, the war boss. Oh, well, there's focus. There's a war boss there behind the mech shop. In the mech shop are a load of Gretchen. Then we've got the larger mob of boys, slugger chopper boys, with the Weir Boy and knobs behind him. The shock jump dragster, and then the bone breaker, which has the mega knobs inside, and the stomper and the knobs on bikes in front. So that is the Orcs. Let's have a look at Thousand Suns. I've already spoken about the Risen Rubikai. Now they are a little bit exposed, but the idea is to if Thousand Suns do get first turn, is to move on to the objective and hopefully just be a bit of a pain. A lot of the Orcs small arms fire don't have any minuses to save, so with all his dust, hopefully they could stick around. Okay, so in this corner here, facing off, some rather formidable looking Orc armor is the Defiler, but supported by the Hell Brute. Zangors here in the center here, buffed by the Zangor Shaman. And then we've got the Exalted Sorcerer here, the normal Sorcerer here. Then we've got the souped up Demon Prince in front of the Land Raider. We've got the Screamers, another squad of rubrics, the Infernal Master, Araman, the Flamers, Magnus here, and then on this flank we've got the Horrors, Spawn, the Cultists, and then the Helldrake. And as I said, the Terminators are in reserve. Right, let's see who has first turn. Red for the Orcs, blue for the Thousand Suns. And the Thousand Suns win the roll, and they will choose to go first as we go into Thousand Suns turn 1. I need to determine which is the key objective. D3, that's a 4, so the number 2 is worth 2 victory points at the end of the battle round, with 1 and 3 worth 1. Okay, let's go into the movement phase. Okay, here we are at the end of the movement phase for the Thousand Suns turn 1. A couple of things to note. It was 2 command points to play Risen Rubikai, so Thousand Suns are down to 13. They gained 17 Cabal points with all the sorcerers on the table. In the command phase, Magnus pointed to this unit, and this unit can now re-roll all hit rolls, and that's before everyone moved. And the Infernal Master managed to get off his Infernal Pact on the Land Raider Malefic Maelstrom. That adds 1 to the strength characteristics of its ranged weapons. In terms of the actual movement phase itself, quite good advance rolls across the board. So the cultists and the pink horrors advanced to get onto objective 3. So did the Chaos Spawn advance. Magnus moved normally. The Helldrake went into hoverjet mode. It's a little bit further forward, but I couldn't quite get its base in between that item of scenery. The plan is to eye up a charge on the truck and try and stop the boys in the truck from interfering with the Thousand Suns taking objective number 2. So this Rubric squad has moved forward. Araman advanced up along with the Zangor Enlightened. They did a normal move, so did the Rubrics behind here. So everyone has just basically moved up forward. The Hellbrute also advanced because it's only got movement 6 and 24-inch range multi-matter, and nothing was in range. So, although I rolled a 1 to advance. And yeah, so you have the Zangors. They've advanced. The what is that? Defiler moving normally. Now I'm sort of using Defiler as bait for the Stomper. I don't really want Stomper shooting at Magnus, so I'm sort of giving the Orc player sort of like, why don't you shoot this instead? We'll see if he's fooled later. But that's the plan there. So I think we can now go into the Psychic phase. So the Demon Prince has Gaze of Fate, which is a warp charge value of 6. And that goes off on an 8. I've already measured the only denial available to the Weir Boy that's in range will be the cast from the Aspiring Sorcerer in the rubrics here. So that goes off, so I've basically got a re-roll in the pocket. It's a bit better than a command point re-roll because it can be any dice. Okay, so the Aspiring Sorcerer in this rubric squad will cast the Cult of Knowledge specific spell, which is Empiric Trespass, and he's going to do that against the Shooter Boys in front, and it's a warp charge value of 6. And that does go off. That could be denied by the Weir Boy, so I'm going to spend 8 of my 17 Cabal points to make that spell undeniable. So that means I can re-roll wound rolls of 1 inflicted by any Cult of Knowledge unit against the Shooter Boys. Okay, Araman will cast Glamour of Zinchi on Magnus. That's a -1 to hit spell, warp charge value of 6. And I get to add 1 to that, but that's still a fail. So I shall re-roll a psychic test because he can, because he's Araman. And, oh, that's a bit cocked. Okay, I'm going to spend 5 Cabal points to add 1 to that test. So that becomes 5, and then add 1 because it's Thousand Suns becomes 6. So that does, in fact, pass. So Glamour of Zinchi is on Magnus. His second spell, he will Gaze of Hate the Shooter Boys. Warp charge value 5. That's an 11. It goes off. 4 up, it does mortal wounds. And it kills 2 boys. Finally, Doom Bolt on the same target. Warp charge value of 6. That goes off. And that does that does flat 3 mortal wounds. That's 5 Shooter Boys killed by Araman. Okay, moving on. The Sorcerer here will cast both of these spells to buff the Land Raider. The first, Weaver of Fates, warp charge value of 7. Oh, and that does go off, and that's a Perils. So I'll suspend the command point to negate that, and that is cast. So that gives it a 4-up invulnerable save. Second spell is Presage. That's warp charge value of 7. And that is a fail. So that doesn't go off. Okay, all other sorcerers are out of range for their spells, apart from Magnus, who will finish the psychic phase with a smite, and this will hit the looters as the nearest visible unit to him. He gets to add 3 to this, +2 because he's uninjured and he's Magnus the Red, and +1 because he's a Thousand Suns unit. So that is an 11, which means it's a super smite for Magnus, which is 3d3 mortal wounds. 3, that's 8. And I'm going to spend my last Cabal points to do an extra d3 damage to that, because I can. So that is 10 of the looters just destroyed with one gaze of Magnus. And of course I meant 9 mortal wounds once I can add up the dice properly. So his second spell will be Baleful Devolution. Target the looters again. Let's see if we can wipe them out. Warp charge value of 8. And that does go off on an 8. And because I rolled an 8, I roll 8 dice, and on 6 is mortal wounds, of course. So another orc is destroyed. And he will continue to make the looters' day very bad by firestorming of Zinching them. And that is a 6 plus 3 is 9, so that does go off. And I roll 9 dice, and on 6 is mortal wounds, of course. So another 3 boys are destroyed. That's only going to leave 3 left. And I've just remembered the Pain Boy. So the 5 shooters who were killed earlier. Let's see if the Pain Boy keeps any of them on their feet. No, they still are all dead. And then the 12 looters that have been destroyed. The doc actually kept 3 of them on their feet. And that is the end of the psychic phase for the Thousand Suns. Considering that 3 or 4 of the sorcerers weren't even in range, that was still quite brutal. The Orc Bastion up here is taking a battering from magics coming in from Magnus. Let's see how much more damage is now caused in the shooting phase. Okay, let's kick off with the Land Raider. He's going to put their twin heavy bolters up into the shooter boys, and then the 4 las cannons into the stomper. So let's do the heavy bolters, hitting on 3s. And strength 5, toughness 5, but with Malefic Maelstrom. +1 strength, so strength 6 heavy bolters, wounding on 3s therefore. And these are -1 but +1 because of the terrain. So they're on 6s. And 3 get killed. Right, las cannons into stomper, and they all hit. Wounding strength 9 strength 10 las cannons actually. Anyway, it's 3s. And yeah, command point reroll. -3, 6 up saves. No. Ouch. 46 damage. That is 15 damage caused the stomper. 25 wounds left on the stomper. It's taken some 4 las cannons, and it's beginning to smoke already. It's on its 1 bracket down. Okay, well, let's continue to fire into the stomper. The battle cannon from the defiler will go into it, but the auto cannons will go into the knobs on bikes in front of it. So let's do the auto cannons, hitting on 3s and wounding on 3, strength 7. 2 -1 saves. These are 5 ups. They save. And then the battle cannon fires twice and hits twice, and we'll need 4s to wounds twice. This is -2 flat 3, so these are 5 up saves and flat 3 damage caused. Okay, moving on. The rearmost rubric squad had Lord of the Planetary Sorceress put on it by Magnus, so they can reroll all hits. The only thing is not much is in range. This is a Soul Reaper cannon. They're going into the shooter boys, and I can re-roll failed hits because of that thing. So they all hit. Ouch! This is strength 5, toughness 5, so 4s to wound And I can reroll ones because of Emperor Trespass. So that is 4 -3 saves. There is a 6-up invulnerable save from the custom force field. Keeps 1 on their feet. And then the dock. Now they still die. And I didn't roll a dock from the last casualty. So hold on a second. I think that was 3. I'm going to try and remember. So 1 actually does stay on his feet because of the dock. Okay. Okay, I'm going to spend a command point on Soul Reap on this squad of Rupert Marines. Basically means if they're shooting at a target of 11 or more, and I've just counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, then effectively it doubles the attacks characteristics of the Soul Reaper, so it fires 10 times. They are in 6 inches of Araman, so I can reroll ones, hitting on 3s. Reroll that 1. And strength 5, toughness 5, 4s to wound. Oh my goodness. Oh, I can reroll 1s because of Emperor Trespass. Oh my goodness. My Thousand Sons are singing at the moment. These are all -3 saves, so it's going to have to go on the custom force field. Saves 1, and then the Pain Boy. Pain Boy keeps 2, so that's 4 dead. Okay, and these are the warp bolters. Some weren't in half range, so they're only firing once. The others are rapid firing because they've been 12. I can reroll ones because of Araman. And they're hitting on 3s, so that's not too bad. This is a harder bit though, winning on 5s. Strength 4, toughness 5. That's still quite respectable, I think. 4 -2 saves, so gonna have to be the force field save. Keeps 1, and then the dock saves, so 2 die. Okay, moving on, the Bale Flamer into the truck, 2d3 auto hits for 3, and this is strength 6, toughness 6, so 4s to wound, and it is at -1. I roll it, that's a failed save, but only does 1 damage because of ramshackle, because it's not a, it's -1 damage because it's not a strength 8 or more. So that truck's down to 9 wounds. Okay, and then finally, the Enlightened are going to try and kill some more looters. They always hit on 2s. They're Assault 1 weapons, and they're not core, so I can't reroll the 1s because of Araman. But there are 4 hits. Strength 5, toughness 5, so 4s to wound and none wound. And that is the end of a pretty successful opening turn for the Thousand Sons. I have a couple of charges, the Helldrake, and it's an 11-inch charge, but I'm going to give it a go. Magnus will go into the truck. So let us do the Helldrake first. And that rolled a 7, and that's going to be in because it is a bit closer to the truck. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned it went into hoverjet mode. I can't remember if I mentioned, but that's why it can charge a non-flying target. No, Magnus is going to need an 11, and that's a double 6, so he's also in. Wow, the winds of magic are flowing across Chancyll IV, and the Orks are in disarray. This is going to be a nasty turn. Okay, Magnus Red has 8 attacks. He's hitting on 2s. Oh, got 2 1s. He's strength 16 with his blades, so he'll be wounding the truck on 2s. And each one is going to go straight through the armor and do flat 3 damage. So that is a destroyed truck. Does it blow up? No. Oh dear, and mistakes were made. I don't know if anyone noticed that. There was virtually no room for any of the boys to get out of that truck. So the Orc player had to spend 2 command points on emergency disembarkation, which meant 5 of the 12 Orcs inside that truck failed to get out. The remaining survivors behind the grots here, Magnus has consolidated into the grots, so they will attack him back. I'll do that off camera. And the Helldrake managing to consolidate 3 inches towards the nearest enemy model, and that is the end of the of a very successful Thousand Sons phase. I should do some morale. I'm going to have to spend 2 command points to keep the Insane Bravery on the looters to keep them in the game. However, the shooter boys have lost loads, so they will only pass their morale on a 1. No, they don't. There's a mob rule, they only flee on 1, however, on 1s. 2 still flee. Unsurprisingly, the Gretchen doing no wounds against Magnus Red, and that is the end of Thousand Suns turn 1. They are in a really strong position now. They are on 2 of the 3 objectives. The Stomper is quite badly damaged, and the Orcs on that fortress area are completely decimated. Yeah, so I think it's gonna be whether what the Orc player does now, really. Is he going to sound the wah in turn 1? He might do, you know. I'm not sure. I'll have to have a think as we go into Orcs turn 1. Okay, here we are at the end of the Orcs movement phase turn 1. They gain a command point. The Stomper's healed a wound thanks to its grot riggers. So it's back up to 24. General move forward here. There's going to be a lot of Dagger guns going into the Zangors, and the Bonebreaker is going to try and make a charge into the Defiler. Orc vehicles will come piling out of the ruined gateway. It's a bit of a logjam here, and the Weir Boy is just shuffled backwards out of the denial range from Magnus, because otherwise his spells probably aren't going to go off. He's going to try and jump the knobs into combat. The Gretchen have stayed in combat with Magnus. Frankly, if Magnus is killing Gretchen from the Orcs' perspective, I'm happy with that. The boys are shuffled round the side there to charge the Helldrake. And yeah, so the big query for the Orc player for this turn is whether to start trying to deal with Magnus now. Clearly, he's going to have to be dealt with. But the number 1 priority for the Orcs is to try and keep the Stomper alive. And at the moment, Magnus isn't a massive threat to the Stomper. It's the Land Raider and the Defiler which are threatening the Stomper. So mission 1 for turn 1 for the Orcs is try and destroy the Land Raider and all the Defiler with its shooty weapons and the Bonebreaker and support. This is all about victory points ultimately, so I really want to try and get Thousand Suns off objective number 2. So quite a lot of the army firepower is going to try and go into that rubric squad there. They're not in cover, so we'll see how well the charges do. I mean, I'm not sure if the Death Dread's going to be able to make it in because it's such a logjam. But there we go. The boys have shuffled forward there. Pain Boy's leapt off the barrier so he doesn't get shot off it. Right, so let's go into the psychic phase. Okay, the Weir Boy's only got 7 knobs near him, so he can only cast 1 spell this turn, and that will be the jump charge value of 7, and that goes off on a 10. I've already pre-measured Magnus is out of denial range. I might just check that Aspiring Sorcerer. Hold on. No, the Aspiring Sorcerer in the rubric squad is also out of range for denial, so that spell casts. And with a flash of green war energy, the knobs materialize in the Thousand Suns rear lines, primarily to assist taking out the Land Raider. But if I'm pretty lucky in the shooting phase and destroy it in 1 turn, there are a couple of characters back here that are suddenly quite vulnerable. And the key to defeating Thousand Suns armies is attack the characters if you can. It's from them that all the buffs and the psychic powers emanate largely. So that's yeah, we'll see how that goes on. So that's the only spell in the Orc psychic phase as we go into the Orc shooting phase. Okay, let's start with the Stomper. The Super Gatler is going to go into the Defiler. All of the big shooters are going to go into the Zangors. The Death Cannons are going to go into the Land Raider downfield, and as a result the Thousand Suns player has spent a command point on Arcane Smokescreen to put a -1 to hit on that. Super Rocket's also going to go into the Land Raider. Yeah, so let's do the small arms into the Zangors. On a 4-up, the extra Daka gubbins kicks in. Yeah, so they all fire an extra shot. So with the more Daka custom job kicking in, the big shooters and twin big shooters fire 28 times, hitting on 5s. Scoring 9 hits. The 6s are an extra -1 AV, but they've got a 5 up invulnerable. This is the wound roll. Strength 5, toughness 4, freeze to wound. 5 saves of 5 up invulnerable, Aura Dark Glory, and 3 are slain. Okay, Super Gatler into the Defiler. Fires 25 times because of the more Daka. Getting 9 hits, wounding on 4s. Strength 7, toughness 7. And getting 8 wounds through. And these are either -2 or -3. It doesn't matter, it's on the 5 up demon save now. Only 2 are saved and 6 wounds caused to the Defiler. 8 wounds left on the Defiler, need to cause 1 more to bracket it. Right, Death Cannon into the Land Raider. This fires 3d6 times. I need good money. That's not that good. I think I'll command point reroll that 1. That's a bit better. That's a 6, so that's now 12 shots. But because of Arcane Smokescreen, these are only hitting on 6s. A strength 10 weapon though. And it hit once. Hits once. My 3 up to strength 10, so freeze to wound, and it does wound. And Thousand Suns Land Raiders have a 5 up invulnerable because they have the Arcana Astartes keyword. So actually, it's a 4 up because it has a Weaver of Fate spell on it. And that fails. That would be d6 damage. I'm not going to command point reroll that from the Thousand Suns perspective. So d6 damage. Lost it. 1. And I've already used a command point. So 15 wounds left on the Land Raider. Finally, the Super Rockets, heavy d6, 5 shots, but again hitting on 6s. And scores 1 hit. Be strength 8, toughness 8, so winning on 4s. Does wound, be 5 up invulnerable. No, sorry, 4 up invulnerable, that still fails. Command point reroll, go on then. Yeah, so that now succeeds. So all the heavy weapons from the Stomper not doing very much. Arcane Smokescreen really helping out the Land Raider. And that's a stratagem that can be used each and every single turn. Right, let's move on to some of the other firepower from the Orcs. Okay, continuing on this flank, let's do the Decker guns from the Warbikers into the Zangors. So it's 30 dice, hitting on 5s. Only scoring 6 hits, that's not very good, but winning on 3s. And that is 5 up invulnerable saves. And 4 more Zangors go down. Okay, moving on to the Bonebreaker. 4 big shooters into the Zangors. Scoring 5 hits, winning on 3s. And 2 wounds, 2 5 up invulnerable saves, dropping another 2 Zangors. The kill cannon hasn't got great range, can't reach the Land Raider, so it's going to put its shot into the Defiler. It's heavy d6, fires 4 times, and hits on 5s. Scoring 1 hit, which is an extra -1 because it's. Oh no, sorry, it's a Goth, so that doesn't matter anyway. So 1 hit, winning on 3, strength 8, toughness 3, does wound, -2 flat 2, so 5 up invulnerable, and the Defiler has 6 wounds left. Okay, moving on, let's fire the Death Killer War Trike. This is the cutter version of the burner. 2 dice, 1 hit, hitting on 5s, it's strength 8, so winning on 2s. This is against the rubrics, that's very cocked. Wounds, won't get all his dust, and it's beyond the invulnerable, 5 up invulnerable, and that saves. I did a boomsticks off camera. Okay, the boomsticks did manage to blink a wound off the rubric squad. Now the Megatrak Scrapjet are going to put all its weapons into the same rubric squad, apart from the wing missiles, which will go into the Hell Drake. So this are the twin heavy shooters. The blue dice is fired by the grot gunner, so that's hitting on 4s. The other dice hitting on 5s. 7 hits, wounding on 3s. 4 wounds, 2 up, all his dust saves. Oh, and 1 rubric falls. 3d3 rocket cannon shots for 4. Hitting on 5s. They will miss, and then the wing missile hits on 4 because it's firing at a vehicle. It hits, wounding on 3, strength 8. Wounds, a bit of 5 up invulnerable save, and that's flat 2. No, sorry, flat 3, so that's putting the Helldrake on 9 wounds. Okay, I was doing small arm slugger shots from the boys off camera, managed to plink another wound off the rubrics, and I fired the rocket of portion of the War Boss's custom rocket launcher, and he's managed to score 2 wounds, and these are flat 3 damage, minus 2 saves, so 5 up invulnerable saves, or rubrics will be slain. Oh no, there we go. Zinchi protects. Okay, moving on, the remaining shooter boys up on the ramparts. These are the shooters, scoring 1 hit, strength 4, toughness 4, doesn't wound, and then the rocket will fire its blast, so it will fire 3 shots, hitting on 5s, getting 2 hits, strength 8, toughness 4, 2s to wound, only 1 wound, minus 2, so 4 up save. Saved. The invulnerable save of the rubrics coming in then, and then finally let's do the looters into them. Okay, hit on 5s. Getting 8 hits, strength 7, toughness 4, 3s to wound. Look at that, they all wound. Now the grey dice are extra -1 because they were 6s rolled to hit with the bad moon trait. So these are at -2, flat 2 damage. So these are 5 ups, or rubrics get destroyed. That's 3 rubrics down. These are on 4 ups. And that's 6 rubrics destroyed by looters in total. Okay, sluggers from the knobs, not doing any wounds to the Infernal Master, and another wound plinked off the Helldrake by the boys, the Slugger Chopper boys. There, so that's the end of the Orc shooting phase. Not that great, but the looters doing quite well at the end there, slaying 6 rubrics. And in fact, if they had not rolled quite a few invulnerable saves before that, it could have been the squad. But they're immune to morale and they are objective secure, so the Thousand Suns do still hold that objective, but I reckon the Deathkiller War Trike would be able to clear those last 3 rubrics away. Let's see if it can in the charge phase. Okay, charge phase for the Orcs turn 1. The Bonebreaker and the Knobs on Bikes are going to go into the Defiler. The Orcs Slugger Chopper boys are going to go into the Helldrake, the Deathkiller War Trike, and the Megatrap Scrapjet. And I might as well declare the Death Dread as well, but that's only if I get quite good rolls to get the other 2 out of the way. But give it a go. Anything else? Oh yes, of course the knobs here. Now, only causing 1 wound on the Land Raider means that I don't think the knobs are going to be able to destroy it in 1 combat phase, even though there's 3 power claws there. So I'm going to do a multi-charge on the Land Raider and the Infernal Master. I'm going to hope to kill the Infernal Master and then tag the Land Raider to force the Land Raider to shoot at the knobs or fall out of combat. Because otherwise I think that these rubrics are just going to turn around and probably hose them all down. Got the flamers here as well, so they're not probably long for the world, the knobs. I want them to try and do something in this turn. Okay, let's see if those charges get home. Let's do the knobs first. They're 9 inches away from both the Infernal Master and the Land Raider, and that's a failed charge. So I'm going to do Here We Go. Come on, this is quite important. And that's in for you. And that's how they end up at the charge. Right, Bone Breaker needs a 7. I'm debating whether to do ramming speed, which will give me an extra dice to use, but I don't think I'm going to need it, and I need the command point. So let's see how I get. And that's 8. That's in. War Bikes. That's going to 9. That's going to be in. Then Death Killer War Trike's probably an auto in. Certainly, Death Killer War Trike's an auto in. The Megatrat Scrapjet, that's a roll double 1. No, that's also in. I'll roll for the Death Killer just to see where I can put it. Maybe slingshot it around 6 inches. Okay, let's see if I can get the Death Dread in. And that is a 6. I think that's going to be enough to get within an inch. Yeah, just about. So charges across the board for the Orc lines. And this is where everything ends up. It suddenly just occurred to me I haven't fired my shock jump dragster. As I haven't had any combat yet, I'm just going to do that now. And that would have fired at the Defiler. Now, I technically advanced with this model to try and get it to activate its shock jump tunnel and try and get it in the backfield, but I didn't roll high enough. So because it advanced, it can't fire the rockets, which are heavy weapons. The shock jump rifle is an assault weapon, so it can be fired at -1 hit. Usually hits on 3s because it's got a targeting squigs of 4s. And it misses with snake eyes. There we go. Right, so that's fine. That's the dice god saying you should have remembered to fire it in the shooting phase. So that's the where things are at the end of the charge phase. Now, I think the Defiler might fire Overwatch. Or would it be the Helldrake? Hold on. And fire Overwatch with that. I could have done it with the Defiler, but it had to have fired into the Bone Breaker, which came in first, and the Heavy Flamer probably wouldn't do too much against the Bone Breaker. So this is the Barrel Flamer into the boys as they charge in. 3 automatic hits, wounding on 4s. And that's going to be 1 dead boy. Okay, probably not worth a command point. Before we go into combat on a 4-up, the Megatrat Scrapjet Ram does D3 wounds on the target. So yes, it does do D3 wounds and does a wound. Okay, activating the Bone Breaker has 6 attacks plus D6. 7. But it hits on 2s. And that's 6 because it's a Goth. Generates another hit, so they technically all hit. Strength 7. I think it's strength 7. Let's double check. No, in fact, it's strength 9. Strength user +1. So wounding on 3s, but unfortunately, I rolled 2 1s and 2 2s. So only 3 wounds that get through. It's a -1 save. So these are 4-up, flat 2 damage. If I fail all of them, it destroyed the. No, it only takes 2 wounds. That's pretty disappointing from the Bone Breaker. Now I'm considering interrupting with the Infernal Master here to try and kill some of these knobs. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. Spend 2 command points and interrupt with the Infernal Master. In fact, the Sorcerer will also heroically intervene. Okay, the Infernal Master has 4 attacks, hitting on 3s with his 4 stave. Oh dear, only 1 hit. Oh. Yeah, okay. His strength is +2, so his strength 6. So wounding on 3s doesn't wound. Might have a command point reroll, otherwise I've just burnt 2 command points for no reason. Does wound, and it's -1 save, so 5-up save. Does D3 damage. Does kill a boy, a knob even. Yeah, I burnt 3 command points to kill a knob. That probably wasn't a very good exchange. Okay. Now I've done that, let's do the rest of the charges. Okay, Boss Knob against a Defiler hitting on 4s with his unwieldy Power Claw. Only hits once, be wounding on 3, strength 10, does wound, be on his 5-up invulnerable. I think that's flat 2. Rest of the squad with their choppers, hitting on 3s. 5s to wound, and a 2-1 saves. Only 2 wounds left, 4 ups. It's on 1 wound. The Defiler's going to live. Okay, Death Killer War Trike into the remaining rubrics. Got 5 attacks, hitting on 2s. And strength is 7. So wounding on 3s, and I can reroll failed wounds. Oh my goodness. They all fail to wound. Reroll them. And these are -2 flat 2, so I don't get all his dust. So 5 ups. Only kills 1. Okay, Death Dread, Mr. Tickles with 4 Dread Claws. 7 attacks, hitting on 3s. And his strength is 10. Wounding on 2s. Drop dice, don't count. And that's 3 wounds, 3 -3 saves, flat 3, so I don't get all his dust. So these are on the 5 up invulnerables. And that is the squad. Okay, last charge. This tight squeeze here. I'll do the knob first. He's 3 dice hitting on 4s with his power claw. And he hits twice because he's a goth. Wounding on 3, strength 10. And he wounds once. 5 up invulnerable. No, another 2 damage. Okay, only 4 Slugger Chopper boys can fight. But that's still 16 attacks, hitting on 3s. That's 8 hits with 1 smacker, smacker, smacker. +1 strength on the charge, but still be 5s to wound. And that's only 2 -1 saves, 2 4 up. Takes 1 more wound. There's the Helldrake's only got 5 left. Okay, let's do these knobs here. So these are the 2 Power Claw knobs into the Infernal Master, hitting on 4s. Oh no. Get a smacker, smacker. So that is actually 2 hits. Wounding on 2s. They both wound. 5 up invulnerable. That's just 2 damage. Okay, there is a big chopper in there. He's also going to go against the Infernal Master. He's hitting on 3s. That's better. So he actually hits 4 times. +2 to his strength. So strength 7, but +1 as well because he's a goth. So strength 8. So 2s to wound. And 3 wounds. 3 4 up saves. Flat 2 damage. That's going to be a dead Infernal Master. Yeah, they've got 4 wounds. He's already taken 2. He's only got 2 left. So even if I command point reroll that, he's still going to die. Yep, so he's been slain. Right, this is a Power Clawed knob against the Land Raider, hitting on 4s. Gets 2 hits because he's a goth. And wounds twice. 5 up invulnerable. I say 5 up, it's -3. Yeah, 5 up. Except it's got a 4 up invulnerable save because of Weaver of Fate, so it takes flat 2 damage. It is now down to 13 wounds. And then the big chopper. It's twice, wounding on 4s because he's a goth. 1 wound. -1 save, so 3 up. Takes another 2 damage. 11 wounds on Land Raider, and that's all the charges. Let's do the attacks back. Okay, the Defiler will attack the Death Roller, Bonebreaker, I should say, but he's still got 5 attacks. He doesn't degrade us in attacks, but he's hitting on 5s. And he scores 3 hits. And he's going to be wounding on 3s. 2 wounds. 2 6-up saves. No, 2d6 wounds back against the... 10 damage back on the Bonebreaker. 6 left on the Bonebreaker. I think the Orcs will regret not plinking off that last wound. Okay, let's do the Sorcerer back against the Knobs. 4 attacks. Hitting on 3s with his 4 stave, only getting 2 hits. Wounding on 3s. Does wound twice. -1 saves, these are 5 up. And does d3 damage. Kills a knob, and I'll have to, for unit currency sakes, lose that one. Okay, Howard Drake with 5 wounds remaining has 5 attacks, hitting on 4s. That's a bit cocked. and scores 3 hits, and he's going to be wounding on 3, strength 7, toughness 5, and that's going to kill 2 boys. Magnus the Red killed 6 Gretchen. Okay, and that's the end of Orc turn 1. Got a morale check, a couple of morale checks to make. These boys down here lost 4, I think. Leadership 7. They will fail. So 1 flees and the rest flee on 1 or 2s because they've got combat attrition. So another flees, leaving only the knob and the boy, 1 boy left. The Gretchen lost 6. They will fail unless they roll a 1. No, they fail. 1 flees, there's 3 Gretchen left. They will flee on a 1, 2 or 3 because they've got combat attrition and they're cowardly. That's cocked. So another flees. There's still 2 Gretchen left, which is fine by the Orc player. It means that Magnus may have to fall out of combat. But he won't, because he won't be able to cast then. So Magnus is pretty much pinned by 2 Gretchen. That's quite good. I'm happy with that. Zangors are going to need to make a leadership test. So again, if they lost 5... They lost 9, in fact, so they need to hold on a 1. I'm not going to spend 2 command points now. They fail. 1 will flee. They've not got combat attrition yet, so that's 10 dice on 1s. And another 2 flee. Right, technically the knobs could fail if I roll a 6. No, they are definitely in their happy place. I think that is it. So at the end of turn 1, quite still only turn 1, the Orcs have this objective for 1 victory point. They actually have this one. They took it off the Thousand Suns by destroying the entire Rubric squad. So that's 3 victory points. Thousand Suns have 1. So as it stands at the end of turn 1, it's 3 victory points to the Orcs, 1 to the Thousand Suns as we go to Thousand Suns turn 2. Okay, start of a new battle round. Let's see which is the active objective. That's 1. Which is this objective here. So that's now worth 2 victory points. The other's 1. Okay, here we are at the end of the movement phase for turn 2 for the Thousand Suns. Gained a command point, putting us back up to 6 command points. We have 14 Cabal points to play with this turn, having lost the Infernal Master and 1 Aspiring Sorcerer. Right. Okay, this is the key objective worth 2 victory points. The Screamers have come flying over the battlements, and on a 4, 5 or 6 they will inflict a mortal wound on a unit they fly over, which will be the Bonebreaker. So on a 4, 5 or 6, mortal wounds are caused. Ow, 3 mortal wounds are caused. There is only 3 wounds left on the Bonebreaker. So Demon Prince has flown round here to charge the knobs on bikes. The Defiler healing the wound has come stayed in combat. The Aspiring Sorcerer held Brute advancing up, and the Zangors begin to scrabble over the battlements. Over here, Araman and the Shaman are eyeing up a charge on the Deathkiller War Trike. The Enlightened beginning to take the battlements. Our Magnus the Red had to stay where he is because he's locked in combat with 2 Gretchen, but they will be dispatched in the psychic phase, no doubt. Hell Drake also staying in combat. Rubric's advancing along with the Flamers. Now, I could have pulled the Land Raider and the Sorcerer out of combat, but that would stop the Sorcerer from casting and the Land Raider from shooting. If I'd done that, then the Flamers and the Rubrics probably could have dealt with these knobs. But I've decided to keep them in combat and relying on the firepower of the Land Raider and the psychic attack of the Sorcerer to really try and whistle down those knobs. Yeah, whether that's going to be a the right thing to do. Time will tell. And then finally, ironing up an assassination of the Weird Boy to shut down all psychic defences. The Scarab Occult Terminators have just about managed to find a small part of the ground not covered by area denial, and have deep striked into the backfield of the Orcs. Edit, it's only on 6s they cause mortal wounds, but I did roll 2 6s and a 4, so 2 mortal wounds caused to the Bonebreaker. It is on 4 left. Thought that was probably a bit too good. Okay, let's go into the psychic phase. Okay, let's start with Harada Run. He will smite the knobs he's in combat with, and that does go off on an 8. D3 mortal wounds for 2. And I'm going to spend 4 Cabal points to do Malevolent Charge, which does an extra D3 wounds on the unit for another 2. So that's 4 mortal wounds, that's 2 knobs slain. For his second power, he will cast Weaver of Fates on himself, because he's selfish like that. And that casts technically on a 12, but it's not a power, so it's not a natural 12, so he is a 4-up invulnerable save. Okay, the Horrors Magic Made Manifest on a 5-up, they cast Smite. No, they don't. Okay, moving on. The Aspiring Sorcerer in this Rubric squad will also cast Smite. This is now on a 6. And that goes off on an 11, which is a Super Smite, and it will hit the knobs, as they are the closest visible enemy unit, for only 2 wounds, but that's okay. Having to lose the Power Clawed knob there to keep in unit coherency, which means that the sorcerer is no longer in combat. Okay, Demon Prince, he will also smite. This will be now on a 7. Doesn't get to add 1 to this because he's not a Thousand Suns unit, but he still successfully passes D3 wounds on the bikes for 2. It's 1 with 1 wound left. Okay, the Exalted Sorcerer will also smite. I'm now on a 5, 6, 7, 8. This will be on an 8. And that will hit the Bonebreaker. Let's see if we can pop it open. And that is an 11, which is a Super Smite. 4 wounds to get through. And 3 wounds caused. Bonebreaker's only on 1 wound left. He's now going to read from his Anatheian scrolls and apply it to Firestorm of Zinchi, which means he will roll 3d6 when he casts from now on that spell and choose the best 2 dice for him. I was hoping to do it on the Mega Knobs inside, having destroyed the Bonebreaker, but that hasn't happened. So let's finish the Bonebreaker. So it's probably a bit of an overkill. There's only 1 wound to get through. So I'm going to select those 2 dice, which means it technically casts on an 11. Okay, I roll 9 dice, and because the cast was was higher than a 9 or higher, mortal wounds are caused on 5 and 6s. So that is 2 mortal wounds caused to the Bonebreaker, which is enough to destroy it. Does it blow? No, it doesn't. 6 Mega Knobs inside, and 1 fails to get out. I did, however, have to spend a command point on emergency disembarkation because there wasn't enough room for the Mega Knobs, because they're quite chunky boys, to get out. You can't put them in the space that the vehicle was in, because you place them before removing the vehicle model. Fortunately, I didn't run any 2s when I rolled to see how many were destroyed getting out, so no further casualties from the Orcs' perspective. But there's now a Bonebreaker shaped hole where their battle lines were. Okay, let's continue with the psychic phase. Okay, the Shaman will cast Baleful Devolution on the looters. Warp charge value of 8. And that goes off on a 12. Because it went off on a 12, I rolled 12 dice, and on 6s, mortal wounds are now caused. Sorry, 6s D3 mortal wounds are caused. So that is 3d3 mortal wounds, 6 to get rid of. That is the looters wiped out by a blast of sorcerer's power from the shaman. Okay, Araman will cast Glamour of Zinch on his master, Magnus the Red, warp charge value of 7. And that goes off. Doesn't go off, sorry. That's a 6. So I should use 5 of my Cabal points to add 1 to that result, which means it does go off. I've measured, unfortunately, the the Weir Boy is out of denial range. Next, he will Doom Bolt the Death Killer War Trike. Warp charge value of 6. And oh dear, he's not having a good day. He can re-roll that. I forgot about that. I could have done that last thing. So because he's Araman, he can re-roll that. And this time it definitely goes off on a 12. So that is flat 3 mortal wounds against the Death Killer War Trike. And then for his final spell, he will Gaze of Hate the War Trike on a 5, and that goes off. And on 4-ups, I do mortal wounds. Ouch, so that is 6 mortal wounds caused in total to the Death Killer War Trike. There is an awful lot of deadly magic being thrown at the Orks. Okay, the Scarabacock Terminators will cast Temporal Surge on themselves, which charge value of 7. That does go off. I might as well try and deny that, I think, from the Weir Boy. And the Weir Boy denies. That would have allowed them to move forward a bit more. Okay, last but by no means least, Magnus. He will give the Grots at his feet a dark blessing, warp charge value of 6. Get to add 3 to this, and that goes off. And I roll 1d6 if the target is greater than the target's toughness, which is 3 for Gretchen's. It suffers d3 plus 3 mortal wounds. There's only 2 left, so I think that's a fail. That's a fail. So he's going to have to smite the Gretchen at his feet. We're up to 9 now. But he gets to add 3 to that, and that's just going to annihilate those 2 Gretchen. And then finally he's going to cast Swelled by the Warp on himself to buff his attack characteristics, and that does go off as well. Okay, that's the end of the Psychic phase. Okay, on to the shooting phase for the Thousand Suns turn 2. 4 las cannons are going to thump into the remaining knobs here. -1 hit because they're heavy weapons, and so 3 hit. We're going to be wounding on 3s, and it's going to go straight through their armour. D6 damage for the first knob, kills him. D6 damage for the second knob, kills him. Yeah, and the heavy bolter rounds just thump into their carcasses. Okay, Bale Flamer from the Helldrake into those 2 boys at the feet. Only fires once, and will wound on a 4. Fails to wound. Okay, small arms fire from the horrors, and the cultists manage to plink a wound off the Megatrack Scrapjet. Moving on to the Defiler. Can't fire its battle cannon because it's a blast weapon and it's in combat, but the autocannon and twin heavy flame will go into the knobs on bikes. This is the autocannon. -1 hit because it's heavy. Wounding on 3s, and that is -1 saves. Does flat 2 damage. That's going to kill the wounded one, and then the heavy flamer fires 8 times, wounding on 4s, because these guys have not technically had their toughness upgrade yet. Maybe I should have done war bikers. That many wounds, -1 save, so 5 ups. So another 3 wounds cause. It's going to destroy another knob on bike. Okay, staying on this flank, let's fire the multi-melter into the Stomper from the Hellbrute. And he misses twice. Oh, come on, point reroll one of them. So hits once, it's going to wound on a 4-up. Doesn't wound. Zinch says not this time. Okay, the Enlightened will fire their bows into Death Killer War Trike, see if we can kill it. 2s to hit. Get 5 hits. 5s to wound, strength 5, toughness 6. Out 3 -1 saves. So these are. Oh, he's got the best armor teeth combined, so there's still 4 ups. Come on, put me. Oh, he's probably dead anyway. Yeah, come on, point reroll. Yeah, so he's alive on 1 wound. Araman's got a warp bolt pistol. He will fire it and miss. Can't reroll his own aura. Okay, so the it's going to be set on fire by the Flamers or Zinch. 3d6 auto hits for 12. Wounding on 5s. 4 -1 saves, 4 ups, and that's enough to destroy him. Don't think they go boom. I'll just check. It's an Orc vehicle, of course it goes boom. Well, it could potentially go boom, no, but it doesn't, just gets destroyed. Okay, rubrics into the Megatrack Scrapjet. This is a Soul Reaper. And wounding on 5s, won't get a save. So that's 2 more wounds caused, 6 left. These are the rapid fire bolt, warp guns and the pistol. 5 to wound, strength 4, toughness 6. That's another 4 -2 saves, so that's 6 ups. No, it's only got 2 wounds left. And then finally, the Scarab Terminators are going to put everything into the Weir Boy, apart from the Hellfire Rack, which is going to go into the Stomper, just about in range. Yeah, so let's do that first. That's heavy 2. Hits twice, double 6. Strength 8, toughness 8. 1 wound. I think it's -2. So that's going to be a fail, and it is D3 damage for the big 3. Focus 21 wounds left on the Stomper. Okay, 4 warp combi bolters into the Weir Boy, hitting on 3s. 5 to wound. No save, so that's 2 wounds caused the Weir Boy, but he's still alive and kicking. Let's see if the heavy warp flamer can finish him off. No, it only fires twice, and these will be wounding on 4s. No, so the Weir Boy lives. Interesting. 3 wounds left on the Weir Boy. His toughness helping him out there. Right, I think that is the end of the shooting phase for the Thousand Suns. I feel like they are very much in control now. There will be charges. Magnus the Red will multi-charge both of the Orc vehicles, the Death Dread and the Megatrack Scrapjet. The Demon Prince is going to go into the knobs on bikes that are already engaged. And I'm going to charge this. I'm going to charge the Stomper with the Screamers, because I can actually do quite a bit of damage with their warp jaws. There's a stratagem I can play. Yeah, I think that's all the charges. Don't think I'm going to go in with these angles. I'm not going to be able to. I'm just thinking. Sorry, I should perhaps pause while I think. It's unlikely going to be able to hold this objective, to be honest. But these are objectives secured. So it might be worth going in with the Zangors and hoping that a couple survive against the Mega Knobs to just take the objective. Yeah, I'm going to do that. So Zangors into the Mega Knobs. Okay, let's... I don't think any unit's going to overwatch. Maybe the Stomper, actually. Yeah, let's overwatch the Stomper. Okay, let's see if the extra DACA custom job kicks in. Not this time. Okay, let's see if the Screamers have bitten off more than they can chew. This is the Death Cannon, fires 3d6 times, 11 times. 6s, and hits once. Strength 10, wounding on 2s. Wounds as a 4-up invulnerable save. Yep, that survives. Big Rocket fires twice. 6s. Oh, hits once. Wounding on 2, strength 8. Wounds. 4-up invulnerable save. Yeah. 24 dice, Super Gatler. 5 hits, strength 7, toughness 4, freeze to wound. They all wound. These are, well, it'd be 4 up and vulnerable save, but damage 1, 2 wounds. 1 takes a wound. Zinchi is not allowing any damage to get through these 4 up and vulnerables. Right, still got the heavy shooters. Okay, big shooters and twin big shooters on 6s. 4 hits, winning on 3s. 3 wounds, 4 up saves. Okay, 1 screamer is now destroyed. And then finally, the Scorcher fires 3 times, winning on 4s. 2 more wounds, 2 more 4 up saves. So 1 is wounded as it comes in. Okay, the Screamer's weathering a complete field of fire, storm of fire as they come in. I did also try and charge with the Terminators, but failed the charge roll. All the other charges making it in. Edit, I haven't done the Zangors. And they roll 11, they're definitely in. Okay, I don't want the Orc player interrupting with those Dread Claws, so Magnus is going to dispatch him first. He's got 9 attacks because he's swelled by the warp. Surely it should be swollen by the warp, but anyway. He's going to put 3 attacks into the Megatron Scrapjet with 2 wounds left, and the rest into the Death Dread, hitting on 2s. And the blue dice being against the Megatron Scrapjet, wounding on 2s. Yep, that's destroyed. And then wounding on 2s the Death Dread. So that is 12 damage. Enough to destroy it. So do they blow Death Dread? Oh, bit cocked. Death Dread. No. Megatron Scrapjet. No, they're just wiped out. Choosing not to consolidate because that would put him closer to the shooter boys still on the ramparts, away from the objective. Okay, do I want to spend 2 command points to interrupt, and if so, where? Yes, the Orc player spending 2 command points to interrupt with the Mega Knobs. Because their objective is secured, I just want to try and kill as many as I can and hope that morale fails them, even if I don't kill them all. Okay, these I've got big Crumpers keyword rather than the Goth, so they don't generate more hits on 6s, but they get +1 to hit, but -1 to hit because they're unwieldy weapons. So we're back to 3s. Blue dice are the kill saws, grey dice are the power claws, and that looks awful. 2s to wound, yes, it was awful. However, these are 5 up or deaths, and that's not great. So that is 4, 6, 7 Zangors slain, leaving only the Twist Bray. I think if that hit roll hadn't been quite so dreadful, they should have easily killed the Zangors there. However, morale will still be a problem. Okay, Screamers. I'm not going to spend a command point on Warp George. They're just I'm down to 5. There's 1,000 Suns. I'd rather keep him latter stages in the game. So 6 attacks, hitting on 4s, and strength 6, winning on 5s. Oh, and 2 wounds, -2 flat 3. So this is 5 up saves, and that's 6 damage. So they do come in and start ripping off vital gubbins. Down to 15 wounds on the Stomper. Okay, Demon Prince has 4 attacks base, +1 for his Malefic Talon, and because he is the champion in this army, he gets an extra 2 because of the twist. So he put all the attacks in his axe apart from the Talon. So the axe is hitting on 3, his Talon's hitting on 2s, and they all hit. The axes are strength 11 because he's the champion, 2s to wound. And each of them is -3 flat 3. So it's going to kill a bike. So that is the entire unit before the Talon even lands. Ouch. And he's consolidated 3 inches towards the nearest enemy unit. That is all the charges. So the defender will go first, so the boys over there will attack the Helldrake. The knob with the power claw hits twice with a smacker, wounding on threes. Oh no! And then the remaining Orc Boy hitting on threes, wounding on fives, doing no damage whatsoever. Helldrake's attacks back. They all hit. 3 syringe, strap 7, Helldrake claws, and they won't get a save, and that's the rest of that squad destroyed. Okay, a Stomper with 15 wounds left has 4 attacks, but with the slash profile of the Mega Chopper, that turns into 12 attacks, hitting on 4s against the Screamers. Strength 10, wounding on 2s, and 4 up and vulnerable saves. No, that does destroy the Screamers. Okay, at the end of Thousand Suns turn 2, do a morale check here for the surviving Twist Bray. Did wonder about spending 2 command points to keep him there, but I only scored at the end of the battle round, so he'll have to be surviving another round of combat, and that's simply not going to happen. So I'm just going to roll. On a 1, he stays. On anything else, he will flee, and he flees. Perhaps he's wise to. At the beginning of Orc turn 2 in the command phase, the war boss declares a war. Okay, at the end of the movement phase for Orcs, it's only turn 2. There's not many Orcs left on the table. Basically, they're continuing to pour out of their settlement to deal with the attackers. So Weir Boy probably won't last for much longer, so he's going to at least try and take down a few Terminators. The war has been called. That means every single Orc unit has +1 to his attacks characteristic, and characters and core units can advance and charge at in the same turn. So yeah, the gap has been plugged here by the Orc war machines. The Orc boys have poured through the ruined gate, and there's going to be a bit of a showdown between the 2 warlords of the armies. I know whose my money's on, but you never know. A war boss, particularly as is the army champion, could potentially still do quite a bit of damage to Magnus if he can get through his invulnerable saves. Other than that, not much to say really. So let's go into the psychic phase. The Weir Boy can only cast once. He could smite the Terminators, but I think he's going to try and warpath the war boss to give him even more attacks. Warp charge value of 6. I need this to be high, otherwise Magnus Red ain't going to have it. That does successfully pass, so Magnus will try and deny that, and he effortlessly denies it. Shuts down the Orc psychic phase. Let's go into the shooting phase. Okay, Small Arms Fire has taken another wound off the Helldrake from the Shooter Boys on the ramparts, and one of the Zangor Lightens was wounded by the Grots. Okay, now the Shock Jump Dragster is going to try and finish off the last 2 wounds on the Defiler. So the rifle fires, hitting on 3s, hits twice, wounding on 3s, wounds twice, 5 up invulnerable. Bit of overkill that. Yeah, that's definitely got it. 2d6 wounds, only had 2 left. Oh, Snake Eyes anyway. Does it blow? No, it doesn't blow. Okay, the Mega Knobs advance, so they can't fire. The Stomper is going to try and take on the Demon Prince in combat. So apart from the Flamer is going to shoot at him, the rest of the weapons, the Death Cannon is going to continue to attack the Land Raider. Or do I shoot at Magnus? They're both at -1. Hold on, let me have a think. Okay, yeah, I am going to fire the Death Cannon into Magnus. It's about time I started trying to deal with him. I'd said both would be at -1. Invariably, the Land Raider would pop smoke again if it's targeted. It does force Thousand Suns player to do that, spend their command point, but I think I do now need to concentrate on Magnus. I think it's probably a bit too much of an ask for the war boss to do it in one combat round. So the Super Gatler is in fact going to blow away the Exalted Sorcerer who is in front of that war machine now that the Defiler is destroyed. Flamer, as I said, into the Demon Prince, and then the big shooters, the big rocket's going to go into Magnus, and the big shooters is going to go, hold on, yeah, I'm going to put them in Magnus as well. I was debating whether to start shooting the Enlightened, but they're not much of a threat, to be honest, the Enlightened. Yeah, and they're not on their own going to destroy the Hell Brute or do too much damage to the Demon Prince either. So yeah, I think into Magnus and start plinking away at him. Okay, let's do that. Let's see if the more Daka custom job kicks in. Yes, it does. So all the Daka weapons on that Stomper fire an extra time. Okay, let's do the incidental stuff. D6 auto hits against the Demon Prince. So 6, strength 5 hits, toughness 6, so 5s to wound. Does 2 wounds, 2 -1 saves, so 4 up. And he takes a wound. He's actually got 10 wounds because he's the army champion, so down to 9. Okay, Death Cannon looking for big money. And that's not bad, 14 shots. But because of Glamour of Zinchis on Magnus, these are 6s to hit. And that is 3 hits. So, strength 10, toughness 7, 3s to wound. And I'm going to command point reroll the 1. So they all wound. 4 up in vulnerable saves. And that will be d6 damage. Yeah, I'll command point reroll that. And so they deflect off Magnus's magic defensive spells. Orcs have 5 command points left. The Thousand Suns have 3. The super rocket into Magnus is blast d6, so 4 shots hitting on 6s, getting 1 hit. Wounding on 3, strength 8. Doesn't wound. Oh dear. Something I didn't consider when selecting targets for the big shooters is the Daka rule. Unfortunately, even with the Bad Moon keyword, they're ever so slightly out of half range, so they're not firing at maximum, which is a bit annoying. But anyway, let's do that now. This many shots hitting on 6s. 4 hits, strength 5, toughness 7, 5s to wound. No. Not a single wound caused by the Stomper, apart from against the Demon Prince. Maybe should have put the Daka into the Demon Prince. There we go. It is done. So that's the end of shooting phase for the Stomper. What else have I got? Not much left. That might be the end of the shooting phase for the Orcs, actually. Yes, because the War Boss advanced. In fact, all of the boys advanced as well, so they can't fire their pistols. Yes, that's it. Let's go into the charge phase. Well, clearly the War Boss and the Orc boys are going to go into Magnus. The Mega Knobs. Oh, hold on. I've not done the Super Gatler. Right, hold on. Okay. 25 Super Gatler shots into a mode of man attack. Hitting on 5s. 7 hits. Strength 7, toughness 4, so 3s to wound. And these are at -2, 1 damage. Okay, Sigil of Corruption, 4 up and vulnerable save. And he takes 3 wounds. He's got 2 left. Okay, so as we were, Mega Knobs are going to joint charge the Hell Brute and the Sorcerer. The Stomper is going to charge the Demon Prince. And of course, the boys and the War Boss are going to take on Magnus. Right, let's roll some dice. Okay, let's go into this quite crunch combat phase, even though the Demon Prince could quite easily now destroy the Stomper if he interrupts. Thousand Suns interrupt. I'm going to activate the War Boss first. So the War Boss has 5 attacks base. He's also the champion in this Orc Army, so he gets an extra 2 attacks due to the twist. And he's also got an attack squig, which gives him an extra 2 attacks on a different profile. He's usually hitting on 2s, but because of Glamour of Zinchi, he's hitting on 3s. And I'm going to spend 2 command points on Unbridled Carnage, which is the Goth-specific battle stratagem, which basically means he converts extra hits on 5s and 6s. Right. Good luck, Mr. Warboss. Hitting on 3s then. Okay, so that misses, and that misses. However, I've got 1 6, which means that can go back. Oh, that misses. Yeah. Okay, so that's how many hits we've got. The strength is 6, but +1 because he's a champion, 7. +1 also 1 because he's a charging goth, 8. So times that by 2 is 16. So the blue dice are winning on 2s. The squig is strength 4, so we'll be winning on 5s. And so that fails to win. I might. Let's command point reroll that. And that succeeds. So all these are 4-up invulnerable saves or flat 3 damage. So that is 9 damage. But it becomes 2 damage because of Undying Form. So that is in fact 6 damage caused to Magnus. Okay, so his Warlord trait is Brutal but Cunning, which means that any attack that did not reach the inflict damage stage, he can roll again. So these are the dice that didn't inflict their damage, and they are hitting on 3s this time. I have to accept the consequences. So those hit. Grey dice is on 5s, the blue dice are on 2s. So that's 3 more invulnerable saves for Magnus to take, 4-up. And he takes another 4 damage. So that is 10 damage in total. So Magnus has 8 wounds left. He's now in his middle bracket. That wasn't too bad, I think. About as good as I could expect. And all those boys have yet to attack Magnus. So this could be interesting. Now, I think I probably will spend 2 command points as a Thousand Suns player, putting me down to 1. Orc player is down to 2 to interrupt and see if I can take out the remaining wounds on this Stomper. Edit, I know I'll screw it up. The Orcs, because of the War, the War Boss had an extra attack characteristic. So let's roll that. Hit on 3s and he misses. And then because of Cunning but Brutal, he would have re-rolled that and hit. And doesn't gain an extra hit, I don't think. This time around. So wounding on 2s does wound. 4-up save, drop dice don't count. 4-up save, saved. Okay, so that's fine. He's still on 8 wounds. Right. Demon Prince has 4 attacks base, +2 for being the army's champion due to the twist in this game, and then he's got a Malefic Talon, which he can use to attack. So blue dice hitting on 3s, Malefic Talon hitting on 2s. And he can still reroll his own 1s because this is an old codex ruled Demon Prince. So that does hit. But that one misses. So his strength is 7 +1 for being the army champion, and then plus another 1 for demonic axe. So that is strength 9. So he's wounding on 3s. Apart from the Talon, which is wounding on 4s. So that fails to wound, that fails to wound, that fails to wound. The axe is at -3. So 6-up saves. And that is 9 damage. Meaning there's 5 wounds left on that Stomper. Megalod could probably take out that sorcerer, but I'm going to put the 2 on the end here into the sorcerer. These 3 will go into the Hell Brute once they have piled in. Okay, so the 2 into the sorcerer are attacking with power claws. They're normally hitting on 4s, but because of their clan specialist trait, they hit on 3s. Doesn't help them though. They've got an extra attack each, of course, because of War, and this is a core unit. Actually, not just core, it's any orc unit. So it's an extra 2 attacks coming in, hitting on 3s. So that is 4 hits against the sorcerer. Strength is ×2, so 10, winning on 2s. And that is 4 4-up saves. Need to make all of them, basically. And make 2. And that is flat 2. So even if one, I can't. Yeah, even if I use my last command point rewatch, I don't think I will. That sorcerer is slain. Now the 3 remaining Mega Knobs have 5 attacks each, +1 for dual power saws, and +1 because of the War. So they are hitting on 3s. Getting 10 hits, wounding on 3, strength 10, toughness 7. 7 wounds, 5 up invulnerable save. Oh, that's not too bad. So 4 gets through. Now power kill saws are D3 damage. So and it reduces damage by 1, but to a minimum of 1. So 1, 2, that should be 2, but comes to 1, 3. That should be 3, goes to 2. So 5 damage, it survives. Yes, that monstrous resilience trait helping out the Hellbrute there. 3 wounds left. Okay, moving on to the Weir Boy, selling his life dearly. Has 3 attack space, +1 because the War is in effect. Hitting on 3s, getting 3 hits. Strength +3, so strength 8. So wounding on 2s with his Weir Boy staff, and these are at -1 D3. So don't get all his dust. 3 up saves. 1 gets through, D3 damage. Oop. And that is 3 damage. So that actually does kill a Terminator. Okay, let's see if Magnus can survive this green tide. I'll do the knob first. He has 3 attack space, +1 because of the War. His unwieldy power claw will be hitting on 4s. He's also got Glamour Zinchi on, but you don't get double minuses, so still on 4s. And because he's a Goth, he gets 2 hits. Wounding on 3, strength 10. Actually, strength 6. Because he's a Goth. And then ×2 is 12, so still on 3s. And I have 2 wounds. 2 4-up invulnerables. No, it's another 1 gone through. That's another 2 damage. 6 left for Magnus. Right, I reckon 12 boys are either in base-to-base contact or within ½ an inch of a boy that's in base-to-base contact. Within an inch, I should say. So that is 5 attacks each because the War is in effect. That's 60 dice. Edit, of course, it's flat 2 damage for a power claw, which comes 1 because of Undying Form. So Magnus is still on 7, but he's now got to try and tank 60 attacks coming his way. Okay, here are the first 30, hitting on 4s because of Gamma Zinch. 15 hits so far. Now do the wounds roll. Strength 5 because they're Goths on the charge. Toughness 7 is 5s to wound. Not great rolling. Only 3 wounds to get through. 3 -1 says these are 4-ups, single damage. Takes a wound down to 6 wounds. Let's do the next 15. Sorry, the next 30. Right. Next 30, hitting on 4s. 16 hits this time, winning on 5s. Oh, that's looking good. 9 wounds getting through, 6 to get through, 4 up saves. 1, 2, 3, 4. Magnus is on 2 wounds left. But it isn't quite over because I did charge in with the 3 remaining shooter boys. So let's do them next. 9 attacks because of the Weir hitting on 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits. Wounding on 5s. Oh dear, only 1. He's going to survive. And he has a 3 up save because they don't have choppers at -1. Yeah, so he saves that. So Magnus is left on 2 wounds. Let's do the Stomper attacking back against the Demon Prince. Probably going to still use a slash attack. Demon Prince has a Locus of Zinch, which is like a protective thing. You roll 2d6 and select the lowest number, which is the 2, which means all 2s will now miss, but they will miss anyway, so that's not really helped the demon. Okay, so a Stomper on 5 wounds has 3 attacks base, +1 though because of the Weir, so that's 4, and then with the slash attack, every attack counts as 3, so 4 times 3 is 12 attacks. And unfortunately, it's hitting on 5s because it's not functioning very well. But that's not too shabby. Is that 4 hits? Yeah, 4 hits. Strength is user, strength 10. Toughness 6, 7. I think it's freeze to wound. And Zinchi demons have a 4 up invulnerable save. And he fails 2, so that's 6 damage, putting him down to 3. They survive. These massive units are tearing chunks out of each other, but not quite destroying themselves, each other, I should say. Right, let's do the Hellbrute attack back. Okay, 5 attacks hitting on 3s and scoring 3 hits. Strength is ×2, 12, so 2s to wound. And it's -3, frat 3, so 3, 4, 5 up saves or squished meganobs. 2 survive, 1 gets destroyed. Okay, I think Magnus will put all his attacks against the war boss. There's no point killing boys, there's so many of them at the moment. So he's got 6 attacks at this profile, hitting on 2s, and there is a couple of 1s. And he's going to be wounding on 2s too. 4 wounds, -3, flat 3. It's going to be up on the 5 up invulnerable save. Hard as nails. And he's fairly hard. That is 6 damage, which is enough to kill him. Yeah, it's cool. I'm going to try and command point reroll. Down to 1 for the Orks. And he does. So the Warboss only suffers 3 wounds. But now suffers D3 wounds because he's not been destroyed. And that is a 1. So the Warboss has 2 wounds left. Okay, attacks back with the Scarabocot Terminators. Let's see if the Aspiring Sorcerer can do it on his own. Hitting on 3s. No, he can't do it. Hold on. Okay, the other Terminators hitting on 3s. Pospreen Kopesh is +1 strength to strength 5. These are 4s to wound. And -3, 2 damage. He doesn't get a save. That is 1 dead Weir Boy. And they consolidate 3 inches towards the nearest enemy unit. Okay, that is the end of turn 2 for the Orks. Wow, that's interesting. Magnus is in serious trouble. He's only got 2 wounds left, but he's survived. So has the war boss. Only 2 wounds left, but he managed to survive. Like 2 heroes attacking each other, and then over here again ripping chunks out of each other. Interesting, but that is the end of battle round 2. So the Orks get 2 victory points for being on this objective, and another 1 for being on that one because these are troops objective secured. And so the Thousand Sons have only got one again. So in fact, it's 6 victory points to 2 in the Orcs' favour. Doesn't feel like the Orcs are winning this, but they certainly are successful in stopping the Thousand Sons from getting into their camp, apart from the Terminators. It's obviously key to hold the entrances to the camp. I imagine there's teeming hordes behind them trying to reinforce the gateway here. So I think time is of the essence. But it still feels like Thousand Sons are on top. If they can take out the Stomper and not lose Magnus, that probably will be key, I think. But they do need to start taking these objectives. Edit. I did the same with Magnus as I did with the War Boss. He has an extra attack, Magnus does, because he's swelled by the warp. So we better do that. I did catch it at least. Hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s, and then a 5-up invulnerable. No, that's 3 more damage. That will slay the War Boss. Probably would mean that I wouldn't have spent the command point to bother re-rolling the other one. So, yeah, the War Boss is, in fact, destroyed by Magnus as we go into Thousand Sons turn 3. Okay, at the start of battle round 3, let's see which is the active objective. And that is number 3, which is, yeah, it's the one with in the Thousand Sons lines. Okay, I've interrupted the movement phase for Thousand Sons turn 3 because I have been thinking quite a lot what to do with Magnus. If he stays there, then defenders will go first, and he will almost certainly be he will be destroyed by the Orc boys. If he stays there also, I can't shoot the Orc boys because they're in combat. But if he stays there, he will also be able to use his quite considerable magical powers to still smite and destroy quite a lot of the boys. But I still think he will fall. The other option is he falls out of combat. As he has a fly keyboard, of course, he can do that. But it does mean he won't be able to cast. That was almost certainly going to be what I was going to do in any event. If I get him back, the Thousand Sons do have a few healing things they can do. If you cast a 9 or more, it's a command point to heal yourself. There's also a healing spell that I think you can use on him. I'll have to double check because it may not. I think it's only non-vehicles you can do on, so I think you can heal himself. But the Orc player does have a command point, and there is a stratagem which everyone has called cut them down. And so there's a real risk that if he tries to leave combat, then he will have his last 2 wounds removed. But I've decided to do that. I figured that if I keep him in combat, I've got a lot of firepower here that hasn't really got a great target. It would only really be able to shoot at the Stomper. There we go. So Magnus the Red is going to fall out of combat. The Orc player will use his last command point to place cut him down. There are 8 boys in engagement range with Magnus. So I roll 8 dice, and on 6s mortal wounds are caused. He's got 2 left. It's a bit of a gamble, but let's see what happens. And the gamble pays off. Magnus the Red has 1 wound left. Okay, and Magnus ends up here. So that's the end of the movement phase for Thousand Sons turn 3. The Scarabcock Terminators have advanced towards the 2 characters here. The just dropped a book. The Demon Prince has fallen out of combat with the Stomper to enable the Land Raider to stay where it is to hopefully finish off the last 5 wounds with its 4 las cannons. Again, if I stay in combat, then defenders go first potentially, and that could have been the end of that Demon Prince. Other than that, it's destroy these Orc boys. Having all the followers of Zinch have rushed to this area to rescue their liege lord. There's a lot of firepower and psychic attacks to be had against the boys now, so I'm hoping to clear them away quite efficiently. The pink horrors moving up. The cultists sitting pretty on the 2 victory point objective, which is quite fortunate for the Thousand Suns. The Helldrake moving around and regaining a wound. In terms of Cabal points, I've lost an Exalted Sorcerer, but gained an Aspiring Sorcerer as it teleported in, so I'm down to 14 Cabal points now. Sorry, 12 now, my apologies, 12 Cabal points as we go into the Psychic phase, although Magnus, unfortunately, and neither Magnus or the Demon Prince can cast this phase. Okay, the Exalted Sorcerer had the healing spell and he's dead, so I'm going to spend a command point on Holy Susurrus on I think it be at Araman to replace his Gaze of Hate spell with the healing spell Temporal Manipulation, which he will cast on a warp charge value of 5. And that goes off on a 9. They can't deny. So D3 wounds will be regained from Magnus the Red. For an extra 1. Oh well, it's better than nothing. See, Magnus is on 2 wounds. He will then Doom Bolt the boys in front of him. And that does pass on a warp charge value of 6 to get to add 1 to it. 3 mortal wounds caused to the boys. They are just about in range of the Pain Boy, so on 6s they would be shrugged. No, that's 3 boys dead. And I'm going to use 4 Cabal points on Malevolent Charge to inflict another D3 mortal wounds on that unit for another 3, which are shrugged on 6s. No, so that's 6 zapped by Araman. Then he will smite, warp charge value 5, and that is a 9, another D3 for 1, which will be shrugged on a 6. Oh, it does. So Araman slays 6 in total. Okay, the Shaman will smite, warp charge 6 now. Goes off on a 8 D3 on the boys for 2. Let's see if they shrug. Nope. Okay, the Aspiring Sorcerer and the Rubrics will cast Baleful Devolution against them. Warp charge value of 8. And that goes off on a 10. This is a good spell. I really like this one. I'll then roll 10 dice, because that's what I used passed the test with. And on 6s, D3 mortal wounds are caused. Oh, I bigged it up too much. Nothing. No damage caused. Alright, okay. Okay, the Sorcerer will Weaver of Fates the Hell Brute, see if I can keep it alive. That does go off, so the Hell Brute has a 4 up invulnerable instead of a 5 up. And then he will smite, which is a 7 now, I think. That goes off on the 9, D3 on the boys for 1. Does it shrug? Nope. See if the pink horrors cast. Yes, they do. D3 wounds on the boys for 3. See if they shrug. No. Right, I finally had to pull away from the Pain Boys, so they've no longer got that protection. Oh dear. Okay. I think that's the end of the Psychic phase. Yes, it is. Let's go into the Shooting phase. Right, let's start with the Land Raider. Heavy Bolters. I was going to put Heavy Bolters into the boys, but I think they are toast anyway. So let's put the Heavy Bolters into the Stomper along with the 4 Las Cannons. Let's see if the Las Cannons do it. 4 dice hitting on 3s and wounding on 3s. Oh no. Last command point. Yep. Yeah, last command point. So 2 wounds, 2 6-up saves, 2d6 damage, 5 to get through. I'm glad I did that. So that is a destroyed Stomper. Does it blow? No. Just crumples to a heap. Multi-melter into the knobs. -1 to hit because he's in combat. Hits once. Wounds freeze. I think it's a 6-up save. That's definitely not it. And that's going to D6 I think +2, so yeah, it's definitely going to kill one. Okay, horrors into the boys with their flickering flames, hitting on 4s. Strength 3, toughness 5, 5s to wound. 3, no, 4 even, 4 wounds. It's still within range of the custom force field, bizarrely. So 5 up invulnerables, sorry, 6 up invulnerables. No, that's another 4 killed by the horrors. The flamers, 3d6 auto hits for 8. Strength 4, toughness 5, 5s to wound. These are -1s. 1, no longer in range of the custom force field, so that is 1 dead. Okay, the Bale Flamer might as well go into the shooter boys. D6 auto hits for 5, wounding on 4s. 1 gets toasted. Actually, they are in a crater, so they've got a 6-up save. Nope, still dies. Okay, now the cultists hitting on 4s. 5 hits, winning on 5, strength 3. 1 AP dash, still kills 1. Okay, I've done all the pistols from the officers off camera. Now the Soul Reaper from the rubrics, hitting on 3s, wounding on 4s, killing on 4s. Another 2 dead, leaving the knob. And then the rest of the squad killed the remaining knob. So that unit is wiped to a man, or to an orc. Okay, Scarabocop Terminator is going to put everything into the Pain Boy. So this is the Hellfire missiles. Only 1 hit. Wounding on 3s. Doesn't wound. The Heavy Flamer only hits once, but does wound. And he shrugs. He heals himself. Gets his sticking plaster out. Okay. Warp Stormbolters. 5s to wound. 3 wounds. Custom force field, 6-up saves. Ha! Saves 2. And then see if he heals himself. No, he does take a wound. 3 wounds left on the Pain Boy, and that is the end of the shooting phase for the Thousand Suns. The Spawn and the Helldrake will go into those remaining 2 boys there. Oh no, it's not actually into shooting phase. I've still got these. They're going to try and... yeah, they keep shooting at the Pain Boy. So, hitting on 2s. They all hit. Wounding on 4s. 2 wounds, 2 6-up invulnerable saves, 2 6-up feel no pains. No, so the Weir Boy is down to 1 wound. Yeah, so Helldrake and Spawn into those boys. I'll try a charge with the Terminators into the wounded Pain Boy. I think that's it for charges. Actually, Araman might fancy a charge on the big mech. Yes, charges being made across the board. So I shall activate Araman first. 5 attacks hitting on 2s. 4 hits. Staff of Araman is +3 strength. So strength 7, toughness 5, 3s to wound. 3 wounds. And that is at -1. Yeah, so 4 up saves, that'd be 5s. And he passes 1. And that is 6 damage. Enough to kill him. Except there is a Pain Boy there, so let's see if the Pain Boy somehow keeps him alive. No, he's still very much dead. Okay, I don't have the... okay, the Orcs don't have any command points to interrupt, so let's see if the Aspiring Sorcerer can do what's necessary against the Pain Boy. Hits 3 times, wounds twice, won't get a save. It's 2d3 wounds, so that's 3 wounds. He's got 1 left. He needs to get 666. No, he is also slain. And I did this round of combat. The spawn managed to kill one orc. Then the Helldrake whiffed, and then the orc put a wound back on a spawn. But that is the end of Thousand Suns turn 3, and they are clearly dominant now. Only models the Orcs have are some Gretchen and the Shock Jump Dragster and one boy. He's going to take a morale check. Leadership 6, he's lost 2 this turn. No, he's okay. Hold your horses, haven't quite done this yet. So defenders go first, so it will be the Meganobs who will fight first. And the extra attack benefits of the war are still in effect. So this is the power saws, wounding on freeze, and 4 up invulnerables. Oh no, each and every single one of them fails, and it's flat 3 damage at a time. Goes to flat 2, but that's still 8 damage. It's only got 3 left. Does it blow? No. A little consolation prize for the Orcs. So at the end of the movement phase for Orcs turn 3, the Grots have got onto this objective, and the Meganobs are coming back to finish off the Demon Prince. And this boy fell out of combat, and quite amusingly, he's actually holding that objective because he's a troop with objective secure, and yeah. There's not really much the Thousand Suns can do about that. So, not much in the way of shooting. I'll do the Shock Jump Dragster into Demon Prince. This is the rifle, getting 2 hits, wounding on freeze, 1 wound, 4 up invulnerable, save. The missiles miss. I'll do the rocket into him. Just the rocket, which misses. And I did the Grot Blasters off camera, and they did absolutely nothing. And that's it. Absolutely no damage calls in the movement phase. So let's go into the charge phase. The Meganobs are going to try the Demon Prince, and that's not enough. I think I just measured it and didn't make a mental note of it. I need an 8. So here we go. Oh, that's a failed charge. And that is the end of the Orcs turn 3. They did absolutely nothing. But that's the end of the battle round. So the Thousand Suns have scored 2 victory points, but the Orcs have scored 2 victory points. It is 8-4 to the Orcs. So we're going to have to go into battle round 4 with Thousand Suns turn 4. The active objective is the middle one in the gate. Okay, and here we are at the end of turn 4 for the Thousand Suns movement phase, that is. Everyone just pressing home the advantage. Yeah, so there's not much for me to say. I'm going to start with Magnus the Red. He's going to smite that annoying orc who's in the way last turn. Oh no! He may have failed that. Yeah, that didn't go off. He will now heal himself, and that does go off. He's got 5 wounds back. He's feeling a bit better. Let's see if the Aspiring Sorcerer can do it instead. This is now on a 6. And that goes off on an 8. And that kills the last of Heroic Boy holding the gate. Okay, this Sorcerer, who managed to advance 6 inches and move 12 in total, is going to smite these guys. And that goes off on 11. That's a Super Smite. And 4 mortal wounds calls. That's going to kill a Meganob. Okay, Demon Prince of Smite. And that's also another Super Smite. D6 against the Meganobs. 2, well, it's going to kill that last one that is injured, leaving 1 last Meganob. Arrowman will Doom Bolt the Shock Jump Dragster. And that goes off 3 mortal wounds calls, so 5 left. he might as well smite the dragster. That's now on a 8. I think that's okay. It does go off. Hold on. No, actually doesn't go off. He can re-roll it though. And it still doesn't go off. Okay, and then finally I'll try a smite up here. That's definitely a fail. Right, shooting phase. And winning on 4s. These are 3-up saves. Fail one, make 1, 2 damage, 2 left on the mega knob. Las cannons into shot jump dragster. Hits twice, freeze to wound. Wounds twice, goes straight for the armor, 2d6 wounds, and destroys the shot jump dragster, which doesn't blow. Okay, I did the Terminators and the Enlightened and Araman with his pistol off camera, and together they killed all of the grots, leaving only one mega knob, which will be charged by the Demon Prince, and I might as well add the Sorcerer. So this is the Sorcerer 6. Okay, activating the Demon Prince first. The blue Zori's axe. And these are at -3, so these are 5-ups. But it's still enough to kill him. And that was a 4-up. That's saved. But that's it. The Orcs have been tabled, and it will be a Thousand Suns victory. At the end of the battle round, they would have got all 3 victory points, and then in the final battle round, they would have overtaken the Orcs. So that is a decisive Thousand Suns victory in the end. So as the dust settles on this battlefield, it is a victory for the Thousand Suns. They have stormed the gates and they have driven the Orcs off the planet of Chancyll IV and have secured their border and managed to stop this planet from falling to the Weir. Possibly just about enough Orc resources were diverted away at a critical moment when Chaos Knights belonging to number 2 have assailed the shop, I think I called it, the workshop, and that can be seen in other battle reports on this channel, and indeed there should be another Orc versus Chaos Knight battle to come shortly. But for this battlefront, Magnus and Araman can leave this planet safe in the knowledge that it remains in the hands of the Thousand Suns, and Magnus's plans of attracting psychically attuned humans to his realm can continue unabated. Hope you enjoyed the battle report. The scenery is from TT Combat. I think all of this is from TT Combat, apart from obviously the polystyrene, which are homemade things, and so are the creators are homemade. But yeah, like and subscribe and all that, and it helps the channel out. I'm in the process of getting 2 more armies. I might as well say that now. I've got a Loyalist Space Marine army and a Necron army in the offing, so hopefully you get a bit more content that's not just Orcs and Thousand Suns, but it's a slow process. So anyway, as I said, I hope you enjoyed the battle report. I should say the battle mat is from gamemap.eu. I'll put all the links in the chat and that kind of thing. But yeah, that is the way that the dice fall in Drop Dice Gaming. Until next time, thank you very much. Bye.